in this video, I want to show you a step-by-step objection handling framework that you can deploy in your sales process today to help you close more deals and have an absurdly easy time closing clients. Hey, what's up? It's George Mezes, and over the past 4 years, I've coached and worked with over 300 agency owners, coaches, and info products, helping them close more deals through Ninja Sales Framework. Now, this is my favorite framework, and I'll try to put as much value in this video as possible because if you make a ton of cash down the line, you'll partner with us and you'll make even more money. So that's the goal. So let's dive straight in. So this is what I call the WPT objection handling framework. Okay. So this document is going to help you deploy a reliable framework in your sales process. And you can use this all the time, regardless of the objection that you get. Like, this is really good. I want to emphasize that this is something, and sales is something that we do for people and not to people. Like, this is a big misconception. Like, this is not some sneaky sales tactic that you're going to use to manipulate people into buying your product, but this is an actual framework to help you address the main concerns of the customer to better align your offer with the product and help them make the best decision moving forward. So I just wanted to point this out because, again, this is not something that we do to people, but we do for people. This is super, super important. Now, where are we in the sales process? So we're after the price drop. So you just drop your price, you hold your frame, and you let the prospect break the ice. So why do we do that? Like, I see a lot of sales guys do this, like, oh, it's just 15K. How do you want to proceed? Or, what are your thoughts about that? Or how do you want to move forward? No, we just sit still, lean back, you hold your frame, and you just shut up. You just drop the price. Now, why do we do that? We want the prospect to let that sink in. Like, there's a whole decision-making process that goes through the prospect's head when, you've taken him through everything, like from the value to discovery to transition, from your pitch to the close. And now there's a price tag. Like, the whole dynamics change. Like, the prospect have to let that sink in. The prospect have to think through, okay, this is the value that I'm getting for this price. Like, is it actually worth it to me? And if you're speaking, like, you disrupt that thought process. Like, even, it's so funny because I remember watching this video from Alex Ramosi, and he said there was a study on sales guys, and it was like the most successful sales guys that make the most commissions and make the most sales also, they're waiting at least 7 seconds after dropping a price. It's like, okay, it's 15K. Like, that's it. 7 seconds. Like, let that sink in. So again, regardless whether you're selling mid-ticket or high-ticket, you've just dropped the price and you need to give time for the prospect to process what just happened. Like, that's it. So the way it will work out is, okay, Mr. Prospect, so for you to, go from where you are currently to your desired outcome, obviously you would insect their desired outcome in their current situation. It's just 15K. That's it. You hold frame and you shut up. So the WPT framework is something that we use after the price drop. So when the prospect breaks the ice, that's when we start with the WPT framework, which I'm going to get into in a minute. But again, the dynamics change real fast when there's a price tag attached to their desired outcome. Like, yes, they're 100% certain that this is what they want to do. This is 100% aligned with what they need right now. But if there's a price tag on it, all of a sudden, everybody forgets what they were saying like 2 seconds ago, right? Like, I'm sure many of you watching this, you have been on sales calls and you were 100% certain that what they were offering is what you needed right then, right now. But once they told you the price, you actually froze or you wanted to think about it, right? Everybody wants to think about it, like, especially with high ticket services. Like, if you think that prospects are going to throw their credit card at you with like a 15K price tag without like any objections or any questions, like, think again. So just make sure to be aware of this. Now, here comes the actual WPT framework, which we use after the price drop. So WPT stands for Worth It Possible Timeline. Okay, so Worth It Possible Timeline. Now, again, regardless of what the prospect says, after you drop the price, you always go through the WPT framework, always. Like, if they say like, oh, do you have payment plans? Well, depends. Let me ask you this, and then you go into Worth It. Like, I'm just going to touch on it a little bit later on. But regardless of what they say, we always go into WPT, and that's that. So what's the purpose of WPT? Well, we pace and isolate the first objection, which is uncertainty-based objections. Like, I need to think about it. This sounds good. It's just that I need to sleep on it. I need to pray on it. Whatever. Like, anything that they say, it's like we want to pace, because anything that they say is just going to be a smoke screen, and there's an underlying concern that they're not telling us. Like, no one's going to be telling the truth and say like, this is just jack shit and I don't need this right now. There's something that is holding them up from taking the next step, whether it's like uncertainty in the process, uncertainty in themselves, fear, or it's like money, spouse, or partner, right? Like these are the big three objections in terms of categories. We want to see what objection we're dealing with, whether it's uncertainty, money, spouse, or partner. Like that's that. So at any point, if the prospect asks you about payment plans or, payment terms or in fact, anything other than the actual deliverables and the program itself when it comes to logistical questions, we always say it depends. Like, do you guys have payment plans? Well, depends. Do you guys have etc.? It depends. So we always say that. Well, it depends. Let me ask you this. And then we go forward with the WPT, which is first the worth it, right? We ask, do you see the value? Do you feel that this specific system and process could get you to, your desired outcome where you want to go? And the prospect answers, yeah, I guess it could potentially help me. I don't see why it wouldn't be able to help me, right? And it's like, I'm going to touch on what I just did there in a minute, but we always ask the follow-up question, why? We want them to sell us, right? We want them to internalize why it would make sense for them to actually have this specific system right now implemented in their business, because we want them to see that bridge that it could actually get them to where they want to go. Like this is super, super important. We let them sell us. We let them sell themselves in the process, in the system, if that makes sense. Now, did you just watch what I did there when I was the prospect and I answered like, yeah, I guess it could potentially help me. Like, I don't see why it wouldn't work for me. Like, we watch as the sales rep, we watch for tonality and lingo, because again, my certain lingo and tonality that I used there was uncertain. Like, if the prospect is uncertain, he's not going to buy. A confused mind never buys. So we always watch for tonality and lingo to see if there's uncertainty. And if there is, we need to handle it right there. Like, we cannot proceed with the framework because, again, uncertainty is just so broad that they can be uncertain about themselves. They can be uncertain about our product. They cannot trust us. So it's just so many things that, conveys uncertainty. So we need to make sure that the prospect is actually certain that this is 100% aligned with what they need right now. Like that this is the right thing and now is the right time. Like that's the first thing that we need to nail down. So this is exactly why we're always handling and pacing and tying down uncertainty objections first. Because if the prospect is uncertain, we cannot talk about money or we cannot talk about like anything else when it comes to concerns if the prospect is not bought into our process that this is actually what they need right now. Like that's why it's the first thing that is most important to take care of. So again, you're not going to get an uncertain prospect to buy because, again, a confused mind is uncertain and there's no way of you closing that deal. Now, how do we challenge that? So how do we go into actually handling that uncertainty if we sense some uncertainty, for example, with the first question? Like, let me just play this out for you real quick. Like, do you see the value? Okay, so it depends, right? Let me ask you this. Do you see the value? Like, do you see that this exact system could get you to where you want to go? Yeah, I mean, I guess it could. Like, I don't see why it wouldn't work out for me, right? Like, okay, why do you think that this specific system would be beneficial for you to get to that 100K per month? Well, and then the prospect answers, the deliverables is really good. And I think that I've tried a couple different things in the past and they've never worked out for me. And so this is exactly something that I feel like that I don't need right now. It's just that, I don't know, there's something that's like a little bit, holding me back in terms of the process. I'm not sure if this is something that I would need to do now because, I think I'm just going to think through and see other options as well. And that's that. So the prospect is specifically telling us that he's uncertain. So, or if he's not, then we still challenge that. So it's like, again, if it's a smokescreen in terms of uncertainty, like, no, I guess it could make sense for me, that's like an uncertain tonality, uncertain lingo. So it's like, as a sales rep, I need to address that immediately. So I'm like, all right, can I point something out, or can I share a thought, or can I share perspective there? Sure. You just hesitated. Like, you don't sound so confident. Like, what's behind that? Right? So again, we always ask for permission before challenging the prospect. And this is super, super key because essentially if we're challenging the prospect, so, giving our thoughts, that's going to be rebuttals. We don't want to be this, we don't want to set up this like us versus them scenario. We want to be with them versus the scenario, as we want to make them help the best decision possible, which is essentially helping with, payment plans and whatnot, but we need to tie down uncertainty first. But we need to do that with, obviously challenging the prospect. If he's uncertain, we need to challenge that. Well, we always ask for permission first. Like, can I put something out? Um, you know, can I challenge you on that? Can I share a different perspective on that? Because again, if the client agrees, then they asked for it. They asked for your opinion. So it's not going to be like this us versus them rebuttal-ish, like, talking back and forth. It's going to be us with them versus the problem. Like, we're helping them reframe their thinking and diving deeper into the actual concerns, passing through the smoke screen and addressing the real concerns when it comes to uncertainty, whether it's fear, whether it's like, fear of success, whether it's like fear of them failing, whether it's fear about the process that we have. So it's like there's all sorts of route that you could take, but essentially this is the first thing that we need to challenge if the prospect is uncertain. So sometimes the prospect will give you a vague abstract answer, or he will, say something like, oh, this would make sense because you sell with conviction, or, it's just like, it makes sense because you guys are confident and I believe you. Like, no, they don't believe you. Here, they're giving an answer about something that's about you and not about them. Like, again, we want them to internalize the process. We don't want it to be about you. Like, we want them to feel the weight of the decision and the answers here. So in a vague answer, like everything that's vague and abstract, we want to bring it down to concrete, like concrete answers. We need concrete answers that they can actually internalize and hold that tangible, if that makes sense. So in a scenario like this, we would say like, gotcha. And I can appreciate that. Now, I know this stuff works and I know it can work for you, but I'm curious, why would it be worth it for you to have a system like this installed into your business? Like, we want them to sell themselves. We want them to sell us. And why it would make sense for them. Like, this is something that is, making sure that they're internalizing this as much as possible and they're actually buying themselves into the process more and more and more. And if not, then we just get the advantage of passing through the smoke screen, and then the real concerns come to light we can then address and handle. So that's that. So that's the worth it. That's the first question. Like, do you see the value? Do you feel that this specific system and process could get you to, the desired outcome? Follow-up question, why? Let them sell you on it. Let them sell themselves on it. And then if, based on if the prospect is certain or uncertain, we, do different probing questions that I just went through. Now, let's just suppose that the prospect is certain about the process and he's just like, want to move forward. And he's saying like, yeah, I see the value and I 100% think that this would make sense for me right now. It's just that it would be a little bit tough for me financially right now. So we can see that the lingo and the tonality is certain. They're using certain tonality, that they're bought in that this is 100% what they need right now. Like, that's the two things that we're looking for here. So we move on to the second question, which is possible. So we're going into the financial objections here. We're looking for financial objections here, as well as, again, uncertainty. Like, because, some people may lie, some people may give you like, smoke screens again in the first one, or you maybe didn't catch the tonality and the lingo that they were using. Again, these questions give you the opportunity at each stage to see if they're uncertain or what kind of concerns you're dealing with besides uncertainty or money and everything else. So, for example, here, the second question is the 15K possible for you right now? Obviously, you just insert your price here, but is the 6K possible for you right now? Like, we asked that. We want to see if they have cash that's deployable, or if they need payment plans, or if they have financial objections. And again, there's multiple scenarios. They can say, yeah, it would be possible for me right now. Cool. We know that they can pay in full. That's like a pay in full right there. And if they're qualified and you really believe that this is the best program for them and they're actually bought into a process and it's actually what they need, everybody should buy. If they're qualified, meaning that they can afford your service and that they're a good fit for the services, they should buy. Like, they should buy something. If not the bigger price point, then something else. Like, they should buy. Like, everybody should buy if they're qualified and have money. So getting back to this, do you see the value? Do you feel that this specific system can get you to desired outcome? Okay. Why? They sell themselves. Okay. Is the 15K possible for you right now? So again, there's two scenarios. The prospect is giving us a certain tonality and certain lingo. Then in that case, we can move on to timeline, which is going to be the third step. I'm going to touch on that in a bit. But if they're giving us uncertainty, we're going to handle that right there. Because again, we're not moving forward if the prospect is uncertain. We're handling uncertainty right there, right now, asking for permission and challenging them right there and making sure that they're certain about the process. Now, let's just say that the prospect is actually certain about the process and he gives us a financial objection. So now we know what we need to isolate in the next framework, which I call the CIIPC, which is, challenge, isolate, permission, challenge. Now, that's a whole separate video, But the way you would do objection handling is you go to the WPT framework and then the CIIPC framework. Now, in the WPT framework, we're looking to pace and isolate the first objections. We're giving so many chances to the prospect to pass through the smoke screen and give us their real concerns when it comes to uncertainty, when it comes to financial. These are the first things that we're looking for. Now, with this specific question, like, is the 15K possible for you right now? We're looking for a financial objection here. Like, let's say the prospect says, like, yeah, I have the money. It would just put me in a tough financial position moving forward. Like, that would be a financial objection here. Like, obviously, we can help the prospect with payment plans. That's, again, like a separate video on how to handle financial objections specifically. Like, this is just us making sure that we understand the concerns of the prospect. Because if you're handling smoke screens, then we're not actually handling the real concerns, and that's not going to close. Like, that's just the end of the day, period. So let's just suppose that they're actually campaign full. They're just giving something like, it would just put me in a tough financial position. Okay, got it. And I can appreciate that. I appreciate you being upfront with me about that. So we move on to the third question, which is the last question, which is a timeline. So when would it be possible for you to pay in full? Or what's your timeline? What's your timeline in starting? What's your timeline in committing to the program? Like, we want to see how ready they are into buying into the program as soon as possible, right? Again, what are we looking for? Tonality and lingo. If there's any uncertainty, money, partner, spouse, because it's the third time that we're giving a chance to the prospect to actually tell us their real concerns, right? Like, they could still say something like, yeah, it just makes sense. I have the money, but, I just want to still sleep on it. Or I would just talk to my spouse or want to talk to my partner, like, out of respect, or something like that. And it's like, at this point, we've given so many chances to the prospect to actually reveal what the real concern is, that something's going to come up. And with these 3 questions, you're going to surpass the smoke screen, and you will have an idea about the prospect's certainty. You will also have an idea about their financial situation, whether they can pay in full, whether we need to deploy payment plans, go into open wallet later down the line, or what's your timeline, what's their commitment level to the program. Like, this is super, super important. Now, if you cannot define any objections with WPT because you missed the lingo, you missed everything, then you default to uncertainty, or the prospect just wasn't still upfront about everything, and he was just nonchalantly telling you stuff that you can see that it's a smoke screen and you couldn't surpass smoke screen for whatever reason. Then you default to uncertainty, which again, you just need to call out right there. So again, I just want to, if the biggest thing that you need to take away from this, that they bought into the idea that they think that this is 100% what they need right now. Like, those are the 2 things that you need to take care of first of all. So in a sense where you cannot really, again, define any objections in the WPT framework, if there's any scenario, it's really, really rare because you're going to pick up on stuff. But if, let's just say, that happens, because obviously when you're first deploying it, you're going to practice it, and sometimes you're going to miss the lingo, sometimes you're going to miss the tonality, the answers. So you would say, okay, so you have the money to invest, and you feel the system is what you need to get to, obviously desired outcome. You would just put that here. So to me, it seems like you just have a bit of uncertainty. Is that fair to say? So we're calling that out. Like, we're, again, narrowing this down to uncertainty. If we cannot define like spouse, partner, or financial, we're narrowing it down to uncertainty. And if they're uncertain, obviously they're going to tell you that they're uncertain. Whether it's like, they have fear, they have fear about success, they have fear about like failure, or they're uncertain about the process, uncertain about themselves. It's just another program, So there's a lot of ways to handle this, but like, we need to get the prospect to agree with us on what the actual concern is. Because again, if you're handling smoke screen, you're not going to move forward with the sales process. So that's the timeline. That's the actual whole framework. Worth it possible timeline, WPT. Now, I want to show you a scenario, which is what I call the objectionless framework. So sometimes, really rarely, especially with high ticket products, there's going to be some prospects that just say, okay, let's move forward. Here's my credit card, regardless of the price. So regardless of what the prospect says, like, you always have to do WPT, as I mentioned. If the client is extremely certain and confident and pushes towards wanting to start as soon as possible, you still need to make sure and tie down that this is something that they want to do right now, and they're actually 100% bought into the process. Like I mentioned, that's the key here that we want to tie down. Like, with these 3 questions, that's what we were looking for. So again, you tie down the same way. Great. Let me ask you this. Do you see the value? Is it worth 15K? Why? Again, they're selling themselves. We want a certain tonality. We want a certain answer. Again, we're giving them chances to give us objections. Because let's just say a prospect gives you, okay, let's do it. Let's just start right away. And it's like, you get all happy and you get all like, okay, what's your billing address? What's your credit card? And they're like, oh, you know what? Let me just sleep on it. Or you know what? I forgot to talk to my partner. And it's like, you're standing there like, oh, fuck, why didn't I tie down? Why didn't I tie down? Right? Like, it's extremely important that you guys tie down. This is something that they actually want to do right now. Super, super important. So same way. Great. Let me ask you this. Do you see the value? Is it worth 15K? Why? Okay. Is the 15K possible for you right now? Awesome. Gotcha. So this is something that you don't want to do right now, right? Cool. Yes. Okay. So, and then you take the payment and close the deal. So what's your billing address? And so you just kind of navigate through the end of the deal, which is actually closing the client. So this is the whole framework, guys. Feel free to deploy this in your sales process. It's really easy to learn. And this is going to get you a tons of more sales and a much easier process to actually close deals. And if you're struggling with sales, check out the link in the description below. I'm sure you will find great value. Have an amazing day. Thanks for watching.